Peace, bro. How you doing? It's your brother Mikey Fever. Welcome to NYP Talk Show Monday night. We have the great doctor in the building, Dr. Paul Dyer. Tonight we'll be talking about the brain, rewards, and punishment systems. This is part two. I missed out on part one, but I'm here tonight to make up for that. Hope everyone's having a great time, a great day. Hope the weekend was great. Peace to the family. Peace to Ron. Dyer fell out for a second. He's coming back in right now. Let's let him in. He's in the lobby waiting. I got you, Doc. I'm letting you in right now, brother.
Hey,
Hey,
sorry about that, people and family.
yeah,
Every time with this show, particularly when we come on,
yeah.
it kicks my headset off.
I don't know, man.
Welcome Mondays to let's go back into reprogramming, right?
Yes.
And what we talked about last week, and then I'll bring it up a little bit. But he I'm privy to a lot of great information because of the different places I've been, people I still talk to, and for the reasons I still talk to them, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But looking at studies and being in think tanks and looking at what is going to be, and for people to not take the opportunity seriously, what they get from a show that allows them the information to ask people who are in spaces some particular questions.
Mm-hmm.
I am a flippin' scientist. Like
Yup. To
the
the bone.
things I have delved into and time I pulled out to try. So I offered this thing on social media. I think it was on LinkedIn. It was a course for $199. Right.
Yep. Yep.
I only took a limited people. I think it was the first time it was 10. The next time I moved it to 20. And it filled out within 3 days.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right. And this is virtual. It filled out in 3 days. But everyone that's in that room, that I'm doing a virtual how to reprogram what the brain does, why the brain does what it does.
Yeah.
They have paid me like we go into depth so you can really learn, but they pay me $200 for a 6-week course to learn how to reprogram.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And we're only visiting an hour a week.
Mm.
Now here's what I'm getting at is that I charge people probably this. I give them the same information I'm giving New York Perspective.
Appreciate it.
But they get it for like it's limited because not everyone's there to ask questions, and people are maybe not really diving into it like they did if they paid for the course. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But I'm teaching other people who don't look like me or look like you,
Mm.
and they are wanting to know the information.
I get what you got. I get where you're taking this. I understand.
It
Yeah.
seems troubling, doesn't it, Mikey?
Now it does because they're not taking advantage of what the information is given. Like others are paying dollars for it. Others are seeking to do the work, to know what's going on, to question themselves. And you got some people who just like very like either they too occupied or just don't have any interest in wanting to learn.
Yeah, but when we put it out, when New York Perspective puts it out and says, "Hey, every Monday you get to ask a scientist, an emotional scientist, a neuroscientist, a neuropsychologist, a question."
Motion detected at the drive-thru.
Yeah, and they won't ask. People want to ask.
Right? It's literally you have an opportunity to ask a question to someone that you might not be able to ask a question to.
Yeah.
And this is about living. This is not about speculation,
Oh man.
right? This is about the living scientist, the living science. So it's not about what if.
That's all right. Don't worry. Let them. I see you hitting that, giving that tap.
It,
It's all right.
it,
It's
it,
cool.
it's
Motion detected at the front door.
It's not about what is, it's about what actually is the science behind it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like what would it take me to be in NBA if I was
Mm,
Kyrie, right? That's speculative, muscle speculation, um, eye coordination, just off the
agility,
bat.
everything like
So
that.
you're asking him how to be him. That's difficult.
I'm asking how to
I'm
be you.
actually, yeah, I'm actually giving you ways to be a better you, and people are still not as inquisitive, is to be someone else.
Got you. So I want to say this because I missed last week's show, but
Yeah.
I was listening to it. So what I did pick up and what I have written in my notes is that the brain reward and punishment systems are the fundamental motivation for decision making and behavior.
Right.
So
So because we were getting into dopamine, serotonin, and we were talking about
I can pronounce that word. Is it the neuroprefin? I can't pronounce it. Forgive me. Pinephrine, neuropinephrine, something like that. If I'm saying it correctly.
the prime field. Which one are you talking about?
It's one of those transmitters like the dopamine, serotonin, and the.
Endorphins. So you have the so you have dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphin.
All right, so that's probably not endorphin. It's the neuropinephrine, something like that. One of those.
Yeah, that's the endorphin, right?
All right, gotcha.
So and and what these does when we were talking about how to change our thinking into a reward system so we get the benefit instead of negative talk.
Mm,
The simple one of the things is I did say is for people to give themselves grace and forgiveness. Reward yourself saying, I did something good, or make a decision to do something instead of doing something so habitual, like we talked before. If you're so one-sided by right-handed or left-handed, be intentional about doing things and reward yourself for the things you're doing.
that's a fact. That makes sense. It's true.
Right?
True indeed,
And
yeah.
it's because it seems like why should I reward myself from getting a glass of orange juice?
Mm,
Yeah, prior to you rewarding yourself, you somehow in a thought led you to go get orange juice. The problem is that you don't know what triggered the thought to get orange juice.
mm,
So you're being moved and guided by triggers that 95% of your subconscious makes. So
mm.
if you don't know you're making the decision and why, then it's the subconscious that we're trying to reprogram. And the only way to do that is to bring it into a conscious level. I would like to go get a glass of orange juice, give yourself a reason, and I'm proud of myself for it.
Got you. It's more self awareness, like I say, consciousness, and I believe we did touch on that when I said that the subconscious mind is like a hypervisor in a virtual computer environment. It's just a platform software that allows you to allows you to host multiple computers. So, for an individual to be more conscious of that, as you mentioned, to be full of intention of what you're doing, how can you take one from the process from A to B to get into that
Well,
point?
so to not be humans become habit forming because it used less energy.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't not do anything correctly. Let's go with that way. I'm not saying that we were all fucked up when we were born. No, we didn't do anything incorrectly. It's just that as we live on certain places, environments, and planes, we have to adapt to be more efficient. So we're able to use the other stuff for more complex things.
Got you. Got you.
That's how we developed to be a bigger brain. So when we developed habits, I did not have to use some of the carbohydrates, some of the proteins some of the oxygen in my brain cell to do that task.
It's ritualistic. It's a second nature. Got you.
Right? So now, because I brought it into subconscious habitual actions, say I use 5% on just habit stuff, but I use 30% on conscious stuff. So I want to keep things, streamlined. So I try to bring things into a habit forming. So when I'm ready to do big things and big problem solving, I can use my brain protein. I can utilize my carbohydrates that I need, my water intake, because your brain needs it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it needs a lot of it, actually.
A lot of nourishment and resources. It does. Yep.
So what we have failed to do is keep advancing our brain with complex things that we are afraid to learn. That's how we keep. Otherwise, our brain becomes so fast and efficient, it doesn't mind you slipping into habitual actions. The problem with that is that then the subconscious is running your life, and we're able to. The people around you have invaded your subconscious mind field, and you can't stop it unless you become consciously aware of what the subconscious has just been letting it flow in.
Got you. So I have a question for you. Not to cut your wisdom, because listening to this, it's like, as you saying this, it's like so many thoughts are running through my mind. So I'm thinking of outside stimulants, stimuli, the triggers within yourself,
right?
And like dealing with this, like I'm looking at this, like I'm like, so the brain structure, right? Which part of the brain structure is primarily responsible for processing fear or aversion? Is that all part of the subconscious, or that's another part of the brain?
Well, okay, so the first process comes from the brain parts, like the prefrontal cortex and things like that, and the medulla, and it comes from how it enters there, right? So how it enters there, it's how it get processed.
Got you. Oh, wow.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. I get what you're saying. So when you say that, like that, back to what you're saying, because I wanted to know, we, since our formidable years growing up, we accepted what our parents told us, our peers, and whatever else is within our environment. How can one actually break that? Because it's easy to say, I'm gonna go sit down with a psychiatrist, I'm gonna have therapists, but how can one actually hone into themselves to really break those barriers?
And that is exactly what I'm talking about. It is to give yourself those that reward. If you because if you don't, then you're just working off of a program. And then, like I said, it has to be so simple for you to be tuned into it. The awareness has to be so high. That's why when you have the time, and I get it when people hustle and bustle, but give yourself seconds or whatever in a day to try to release some of this oxytocin, which is the love part of the chemicals that are in our body, right? When we hugging someone, when we're shaking hands, when you give yourself that reward, it releases those oxytocins, and it actually makes your organs feel a lot more healthy and more alive because of the chemicals that's being released.
Got you. Wow.
So just think of it that way. So when you start building self-intention, and this is why when people say, well, let me teach you how to be intentional, it'll change your life. The reason why is because it changes the whole chemistry of how your body is performing. You perform better. You think faster. You gain more. It's not some magical potion. But when we're talking about the reward system in a negative and in a bad, remember the reward system, the pleasure center part of their brain, or the reward system, however you want to call
Yeah.
it, doesn't have a picture of why it's being triggered.
It's
It's just firing, right?
yeah.
It could be you just got punched in the face and your part of the brain spiked.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say, I can't believe he likes being punched in the face. Remember, that part of the brain does not have a picture. It's only your visual illusion. But if you didn't know that your brain is spiking on violence, then it's going to find another way to get that same high. It doesn't, but it knows, the brain remembers, it knows it gets it some sort of violence. So somehow it's going to create something in the external world where it gets that spike, even if it's getting into an argument with the same person about the same thing over again. I know I'm getting the same juice.
You know what, Dr. Dyer? You just did something to my understanding from what you start off with the introduction of the show and how you break down everything without the reaction. The brain doesn't know how to differentiate what is favorable in a person's favor, what is productive, and what is destructive. And as you said, constantly being in an environment of trepidation, the body doesn't know how to relax itself to the mind. So it's like when you said earlier, our people don't get involved in these circles where you at. I'm like, you know what? He just made a connection. So you're saying our people just stuck in a reactionary state at this moment?
Yes. And that's why I
Dang.
became an emotional scientist, is because I realized what that circle was and how it became, it may have started in a bad place for a person, but what does it really do to that whole circle, that circle of travel it does? And now people, like I said, when people start talking about for a long time, and there's nothing that has never been said before, is what you think is what you are, right? I think it's been said for probably since Copernicus. Because they knew then what we have been denied to know. Now that people do know that thoughts have powers and things like that, but the internal voice is stronger than anything, because it's a running program of your whole life. So when you try to reprogram your subconscious level, you have to put in some real dedicated work that keeps you what you call so complexly aware.
Got you. Because what you to add on with what you're saying, and to my understanding, it's basically if you don't have total control of your mind, subconscious mind, within that moment, when operating on that level of just constant survival whatsoever, can lead to some kind of disorder.
Correct.
Anxiety.
Correct. And that's exactly, so you did it right. Wish I had a board. So you're in a train, right? New Yorkers, people who run mass transportation. If you're on a bus route or in a train, you don't have a say-so of how it gets there.
Mm-hmm.
But you do know you get off at a certain stop.
Yeah.
The subconscious is like mass transportation. The problem with the subconscious is that on as is in mass transportation, there is no limit to how many things are getting on as you're moving towards that destination.
Yeah.
So when chaos comes about, it's just a matter that it's bound to happen, because you're riding mass transportation and you don't have direction until you get to the chaos.
Yeah.
Then it kicks in for that moment. Are you going to stay or are you going to leave? Almost like it gives you that choice. Because it's so habitual and it creates that spike, more often people stay in the chaos, not knowing, not wanting to know, the fear, or the spike of, I got to climb higher. I got to do so much more. I got to do. Whatever, how it's creating that spike in that reward system, in that dopamine area, it moves into the body a certain way.
Wow, man. Yo. Damn, so all this is, so when you see somebody with an addiction and then they say it's an illness, they don't know because it's just they feeling good at the moment, but they don't see that how detriment it is to themselves. But the mind is saying this is good for you. Don't that feel good? Wow.
Right. Because the mind. So you're so correct, Mikey. The mind is human management.
Mm-hmm.
They're very technical up in there in your brain, but the mind is human management. The brain is just a factory of just a factory of workers. They have nothing to do with the outside world. But so the mind's got to create the picture that it needs for it to get its return or its protection or whatever it's desiring for it to have when you don't have or live in a conscious awareness way. I know I started learning it when I was a small child because I got into martial arts, and martial arts in a really good school, schools that I've been in control of. We care about that mind part, that sitting part, to be because all that's got to come out of you for you to build the tool to be a person that you want to build. All that stuff's got to come out. That's why the military works, right?
Yeah.
Basic training, it works it so much. It works all that nonsense out of you, so now they're allowed to pour into you.
So basically, break you down and rebuild you the way.
But we can do that ourselves. It's just that, just like if you ever try to, I don't know if your children have ever been misbehaving, but you didn't want them to do something they want to do at that time. That's you for the X amount of years you got to go to reprogram all the time.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. That's your reflection, right? Yeah.
If you can picture a 2-year-old going, no, I don't wanna, that is what you're saying to yourself every time you're not consciously aware of your actions.
Wow. So adults, a lot of us are walking around here with not even within our real being. We want other people project us to be. Basically, I was talking about that over the weekend. Yeah, it's projection and everything else. So, for instance, say like somebody's in a bad relationship,
Right.
man or woman, right, and they have a fear of wanting to separate because they got to deal with the outside judgment of family and friends.
Yeah.
Like,
See, that's part of the brain I love, and being part of the testing and being part of it, because your actions of how you are creating the spike has a minute of a connection that logic plays. It is so small. So logic cannot defer frequency.
Gotcha.
Right? Logic cannot defer frequency. But the part of the pineal gland, the part of the gland that sits in right in the center part of your brain,
Yes.
It surpasses logic to the highest level of compassion. So you either going to blow past that milli of a second opportunity to rise to compassion, or fall to the other side of habitual habits and conditional thinking.
Mm. Damn, it's so much like that. The brain is so like such a
I love
complex.
it.
Yeah, it's such a complex like organ to study because as you said before with this whole AI thing, right? It's us that's putting into AI.
Correct. AI is learning everything. It's already learned what has been written.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who does not speak anymore, they've already captured all that information already. It is
Mm.
just now every time there's a new input, every time there's a new type or whatever you're doing, that's a part of it's learning, right?
Yeah.
So on some of your feeds or whatever, as you know, that if you're not a learning person where you're actually searching for things, it just brings stuff to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the outside environment's been doing that to you all the time. It just keeps handing over things to you to keep you on a lower level frequency so you cannot reprogram your conscious back into a conscious state. It
It's
it
a
it,
comment.
it increases the 95% of the subconscious.
Mm. Do you see the comment right
Yeah.
there?
Okay. Yeah. Even orgasm releases oxytocin and can be addictive. Yeah. Yeah, you're correct. Um, and they just happen to fabricate it that it's the act that it's what they're addicted to, but really they're addicted to the release they're getting. Right. So the act is the sex act or whatever. The act is the act. That's what I mean. You could put anything in that box. The
Right.
act is the act. Good, bad, whatever how your human words want to put on it. We're just talking about the release of what it's getting from it and what the body's like, hey, I like that. I want more of it.
See, I was gonna say a joke, but not be facetious at the moment. I was gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna hold that. I'm gonna hold that. You know what I'm saying? I was gonna say, Holmes had thousands of baby oil bottles. I'm like, yeah, maybe it was
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
police. I don't know. You know, but it's so true what you said, and great respects to you and what you do in your craft and your studies. Like, it's the mind. So it's like as you were saying AI, I was thinking back in old neurologist testing when they hook up the person's brain to the CAT
Yep.
scan and see
Mhm.
parts of the brain light up
Yeah.
and everything else to know what the person, like, say a person's mute, right?
The
So
words can the language actually forms in the brain, correct?
it forms in the brain. So that's why people have strokes. Sometimes they can't. All right. Um.
Here's what we're gonna do,
Mhm.
right? For the show, it's $200 for everybody else.
Mhm.
For anyone who does with the show, and I'll close. So I'll just have a block just for New York perspective, people who pay for the 6-week class. But they have to contact you, the show.
Mhm.
The slots are only open for 10, and I will only charge $50.
You hear that, people? For anybody who wants to be part of Dr. Dyer's program, you can email us at our email, which is nyptalkshow@gmail, or you can email me at mikeyfevernyp@gmail. And I promise you, I will relay that information to Dr. Dyer, and he will take care of you. He's giving you a dope discount for those who want to study the mind and learn more, to be in tune with themselves, to be a better, greater version of you. I will even do it myself because I still got to come to you for that one session. I was like, I got to talk to Dyer because this guy,
I'm going to close it on April 10th.
April 10th. All right, for those who
April 10th.
listen,
So here's the experiment, right, Mikey?
yeah.
How many in 10
Mm,
days?
how many want to do it? They said they want to get help. Yeah, seriously, because
Well,
it's
how about
important.
just to know? What if they didn't want? What if they didn't know what type of help they really needed, like, or know how? The information is still more beneficial because this way you can figure out what kind of help it might be suitable for you. I don't know. That's not true. I do know how to build a house. But if I was to learn from someone how the house is built, this way when I go get a builder to build my house, I
Yeah,
may not know how to do it, but I can tell you if they're doing it wrong because I
gotcha.
was taught. You see what I mean? So I have more things invested into the outcome of why I'm going to get help.
Mm,
That's so that's what's so different about what I'm thinking. I was like, give me the information and I have it here. And this way, when I go, I may have a little, so I'm going to go get more. I think
mm,
what we do here on Mondays, especially with learning how to reprogram your thinking, there's a lot of individual people have questions
mhm.
that they would probably like to ask, but maybe don't feel comfortable asking.
That's what it is. I believe that's what it is. Because you gotta remember also, I'm saying, yeah, you already, you know that you're a neuroscientist. People have a stigma when it comes to mental health,
Yes.
and that's something that needs to be changed. Because I remember I was watching a documentary based on the old psychiatric industry when it first started, when they used to do shock therapy to people.
Mhm.
That right there. Does
That
that?
was the information they had.
That's all. That's all they had at the moment, right?
They knew shock waves disrupted the brain waves. So maybe if they shock it, instead of the brain waves doing this, that's causing you to do not good things,
Hmm.
they wanted to do that. So if they shock it, it disrupts it. Maybe it'll go back to its natural rhythm of this.
Oh man.
So it was just a science. It was just something like their ideas were good. The way they carried it out was a little bit barbaric because they were able to use it as a weapon,
Yeah.
right? Instead of help, they were able to, really use it as a weapon. And it's just like medicines. Like hysterectomy is a great thing, but there's people being performed hysterectomies that women didn't even know they were being performed on.
Yeah.
So again,
Mm.
people use information that you don't know against you as a weapon. If you knew what a hysterectomy, you don't have to want one, go get one, or ever need one. But if you don't know how they're performed, how would you ever know if it was going to be performed on you, even on a routine woman's visit?
Mm. That's true. Information. That's true. It's information. So our people, basically, that's saying people, human beings. It's true as the Bible said, they die from a lack of knowledge.
But you have to really, you don't have to be, I don't need to be a gynecologist. Why should I want to learn how to
Hmm.
see if there's a? But wait a minute. What if your person, your mate, is in the room, you're in a room with them, or they have the information, and the scraping feels differently because they run tests, they run biopsies.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to feel like that. But what if you did not know that?
Mm.
That's what
That's
I'm saying. What if you did not know that? So someone could be performing things that you did not know because
mm,
you did not have that information.
I
That's
got you,
all I'm
brother.
saying. Yeah.
Go up. People got to go out there, man. Enroll. Don't forget, hit me up, NYP Talk Show at gmail.com or Mikey Fever Mikey Fever NYP at gmail.com. And just put on the subject line Dr. Dyer's program. And I promise you, I'll relay it over to him. And he's giving you a discount from 200 down to what, Dr. Dyer,
50
again?
50 $50.
You see? You see? So, with that being said, with the program that you're offering, a lot of people I notice do create their own anxieties, have these panic
Hmm.
attacks and other things due to societal, as we said earlier, programming. Like they'd be like,
Hmm.
I'm not here where society wants me at. Even myself, there were times when I was coming up, when I was in my younger days, at 20, I was like, if I don't get this done by this certain age, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna be labeled this and that. So then I put that extra kicking my own butt.
So that's
Burnt.
that forgiveness we're always that I talk
Mhm.
about because it seems so What is forgiveness? What is grace? No,
Mhm.
they're pretty simple. It's like there's three things that really doesn't need describing:
Yeah.
love, forgiveness, and grace.
Mhm.
It is what it is. You don't have to try to, is this love, that love? Is this grace, that grace? Is this,
So,
is this forgiveness, that forgiveness?
yeah.
Forgiveness,
Mhm.
grace, love. Those are three things that
Yeah.
there is no question what, right? If you give it, you give it. If you don't, you know the difference.
Yeah.
It's period. So if you give yourself grace and forgiveness as you're working on reprogramming, you start to release those oxytocins into the body, like I was saying. And that's that you get that orgasm feeling then, because it
Mhm.
would spike that high inside the body, inside the brain.
Mhm.
So you would get an internal orgasm.
Got you. That makes so much. Wow. So it's like you said, forgiveness, grace, and what is it again? Forgiveness, grace. You said,
Oh, when you're reformatting, so when you're in love,
oh,
forgiveness, grace, and
love,
love.
just in love. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like something I grew up. I used to hear a lot was acceptance, approval, and acknowledgement. Those are the three things you said. Yes, most human beings do require. So it's within the same lane.
Mm-hmm.
But what is that a void that's missing in our lives from growing up that we may have missed that we do seek those
Yes.
things?
So that's why when you allow the subconscious mind to work, whatever happens when you're younger, it was part of the programming. Again, I always really stay on the caution of not saying good or bad of how we develop. We
Mm,
developed how we developed.
mm,
It's a development only when you are now then going to take charge of the information from the previous moving forward from the present. I'll say it again. When you are ready to move forward into reprogramming, it is at that point that everything previous was just information.
wow.
It had nothing to do with it's just information. My dad beat me. It was just an informational. Now to this point of your awareness, you
Hmm.
have just created just information of all the things that's happened to you. Now, how you use it, how you understand it, and how it has influenced and affected from here on is called awareness.
Mm.
In that awareness is where you start to reprogram your brain.
That was so beautiful because everything you just said really resonated because this is very beneficial. And when I say people in general, I do mean every human being, but I'm
Yeah.
looking at the community of people of so-called people of color. We have been fed false information where we don't question our parents from growing up. So a lot of men, especially and women, grew up saying, "Don't shed a tear, don't cry." So they not learn how to process those emotions. So then you carry that chip on your shoulder. You pass it down to your children. By the time you go outside, you have a chip on their shoulder. Your neighbor has a chip on their shoulder. So now we all just trying to figure it out, bumping into each other, like like an abacus, and it's just
Right.
creating the energy, and
Right.
it's ridiculous. So yeah, this is important, man. I'm gonna jump into myself in there because that's part of the process healing. I get religion. People find their salvation through religion, but I think it's important, as they say, knowledge of self. You must study how your brain works because we got the tools.
And
In the comments, somebody just said something. Subject line: She wants. I think she. Hold on. I think she wants to join. Yes,
um,
email. Oh yeah, she could
so
email. Give me an email
just
too.
no, because everything's going to go through New York's perspective. Because New York's perspective, the money's going to go for the show.
Okay. All right. So, oh, come on, Dr. Dyer. So, yeah, definitely Sue Lee.
The subject line would be reprogramming.
Yeah, reprogramming. Yeah, Dr. Dyer's reprogramming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so do email, or you can email me again, as I said, MikeyFeverNYP@gmail.com. I'll make sure every party will have that communication. And then from there, Dyer will set you up. Dr. Dyer is going to show
It's
you.
going to be closing April 10th. So we'll be closing April 10th. Let's see, that is a Thursday, and we'll be starting class on that following week for a 6-week program.
And he says it's an hour
a week.
Hour a week. And they're gonna be leaving with some good tools. They're gonna feel something once
they're going to want to publish their own book.
Yeah, because I think it's like as they say, education is to evoke an emotion.
Yep.
I believe you're gonna drag something out because I'm like, yo, I think
teach
that,
way differently.
Oh, you teach
I teach way. I do because because the way I give, I'm me passionate about being a person who wants to move our human forward.
Mm-hmm.
I bring myself as a human to my teaching, because I'm not divided from it. Again, that experiences, that environment, all that stuff was just information that I use today on my conscious level to be the person I choose to be and understand why I do the things I do. So yeah.
So I got see, I'm gonna be very transparent with the people here. And again, people, this is not no gimmick. I'm gonna be honest. I have a tough time to forgiving myself. Like if I fall short of something I'm trying to achieve and I fall short, oh my god, I am my worst critic. Like people say they're the worst critic, I go crazy. I be in the mirror talking like, what the hell's wrong with you? Get it together. Like, like come on, you big dumb. Yeah.
So we talked about the you get to the point where you are working hard, your intentions, your personal intentions are there.
Yeah.
Your ethic level of your character is there. So you're increasing, this is stay with the chemistry. You're increasing the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin, and the endorphins, right? You're moving them all together. You're moving them all together. And then for reprogramming, it needs an extra neural boost. And that's the forgiveness, so it doesn't solidify in the reprogramming. It doesn't fall into the subconscious. So it's like you get to the point where it's a good brick to lay down your foundation of reprogramming. And by the time you're ready to lay it on the road, it becomes a crinkled leaf. Because of the forgiveness.
I'm listening, doctor.
Because it's in that build of reprogramming, right? Let's look at it. Building a building. You've turned yourself into the clay for your structure. Your awareness is like moisture because it brings in information. Your intention forms it. Your forgiveness solidifies it for you to be part of the foundation.
What is like EMDR? What is that? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, it's a way to measure the brain. I wonder why are you looking for about EMDR or the type of how when people are looking at the pictures and how they're going for it, it's used in certain therapies. It's a therapy technique.
Gotcha.
The reason why it's different than EMDR because EMDR is certain therapies, psychotherapies are tools.
Got you.
Brain chemistry to me is like the brick. If you can't form a brick, your tools won't do anything, because there'd be nothing for you to reshape or recut or remeasure, because the brick never gets set. So what happens is therapists helps you develop tools so you become self-aware. So when you start the reprogramming, that forgiveness and grace is what really formulates, like, this is the intentional person that I'm being. Boom.
Yeah. Got you. Now, I'm learning a lot, Dr. Dyer. Like, you really got me, like, I'm enjoying myself. Don't forget
so
that.
I think people ask questions because they want to often help develop a tool. Well, let's look at let's look at us being carpenters or creators. That's why I always look at myself as being a carpenter.
Yeah. The Gucci brother is forgiving, useful for the healing of the mind.
Brother is forgiving, useful for healing of the mind. So yeah, so let's look at that's why I said we are creators. We are people here to create and be creators. You're no different inside your developed mind. Right now, you have an influenced mind. You have gained some information that has caused some increase, but when you're trapped in chaos and you're trying to really work on all those healing things, you have to reformat. You can't destroy the body and rebuild it. So you have to be the creator that creates it from the inside out. And what chemistry does to the body, from all of its transmitters, all of its neurons, and 13 trillion this in brain, all that, and all the cells in the body and the bones, and all that really comes from a single cell. So think of what type of chemistry your body is formulating all the time to help build this structure. 4 of those chemicals are endorphins,
serotonin,
dopamine, and endorphins, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know how that is operating, no matter how many tools a therapist gives you, you wouldn't know where to put it.
Very important.
So that's why I've always said, help teach people how the mind works, how the body works. This way, when you develop your healing process for the mind, brother, what tool are you using to heal with?
That's important.
So to answer his question, forgiveness is part of the healing mind. But the mind doesn't need as forgiveness as it needs grace. Because the mind never did anything intentional to harm you. It was developed by you, created by you and everything around you to help protect the physical source.
Got you. So basically, you built like a avatar of you to navigate through this world, basically.
Right. Now, the mind remembers, the mind gets back its memory cells and says, hey, I remember being nervous around water. I heard some people talking about water. Let's see if we can. So all these actions and subconscious actions are going on all the time, picking up all your different vocals and signals and sniffs and taste and all your touches. And it's just cataloging. That's all it's been doing. And the mind starts put together the illusion of what it wants to be for that time. That's it.
Dr. Dyer, that's so elaborate what you just said and great. And again, not making this about me. I had to learn certain things my own in the sense that things that trigger me, what put fear in me growing up, I had to say one day, I'm going to face it. So I'll purposely seek that just to say, you know what? Instead of having hindsight 2020 say I'll react like this, I said I'm gonna go face that so I could react that way. And that's how I felt I overcame a lot of things like that. So with that being said, right? Does that mean like an individual will have to put themselves in a certain situation? Is that a safe thing?
No. You don't ever have to put yourself in situations because even the smallest thing helps you reformat. That goes back to I'm going to go get orange juice. Like, even if you sat up and you're like, God, where am I going?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to the kitchen. Before you left to go to the kitchen, do you know exactly where you're going for what reason? That's that slow training. Now you're like, I feel like I want something to eat, but I don't know what's in the refrigerator, right? So ask yourself, are you saying you don't know what's in the refrigerator, or because you didn't notice anything in there previously that you cannot recall? See what I mean? There's if I had to press a person on it, they would end up sitting morally back down unless they were like, I'm getting up because there's a piece of chicken in the refrigerator that I know I put there earlier that I'm craving for to go get to that right now.
Yeah, that cold chicken be hitting. Go ahead.
But if you could do that, that's bringing your subconscious to your conscious.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's really beautiful, Doc. I appreciate you, Doc, for really coming in here, man, talking about this. And I'm looking forward. And from the brother that came on, Dr. Dyer is offering a special on a program that he has where he teaches you about your mind.
Reprogramming the brain.
Reprogramming the brain. And he's giving a discount.
6-week course for $50.
$50. If you want to find out, go ahead.
And it only happens for New York Perspective. So we got to make that clear.
Only for NYP. So if you interested, you can email us at nyptalkshow@gmail.com, or you can email me at mikeyfevernyp@gmail.com. Put on the subject line Dr. Dyer Reprogramming NYP, and I will forward that email over to Dr. Dyer to make sure that you get enrolled. And it's only $50. Great investment.
And it closes April 10th. Outside of the show, I mean, yes, you can invite friends who don't watch the show. They put a New York Perspective. Hope we can gain them as a listener. But anyway, yes, you can bring friends and family, whoever it is, and bring them along for this education. 6 weeks, hour long a week. There you go. Yeah,
definitely. I want you guys to get involved. And listen, we don't take food stamps, so no EBT card would not be used.
He says, like the subconscious has to know something exists. Is that what you're saying, Doc? No, the subconscious doesn't have to know it exists because it already existed for it to become subconscious. So you would have to recognize it as a conscious. Okay, conscious doesn't mean you know about it. Let's get that straight. Being in a conscious state means you know about it. There's things that are happening right now in our conscious thing that is picking up that you don't even know because your eyes are open, and then your ears, and then your taste, and then your smell. All those things are picking up things from way further in the distance or out of the room, or wherever you think it only has limitations to, because it has no limitations. So It's just that your immediate something you can recognize, but your smells pick up long ways away outside the house. Inside, it just picks up certain smells are coming through. So recognizing that awareness of what's coming in, that's being in a conscious state. So you're being conscious is what we are. The subconscious catches it right away and either figures out a way to put it into its rhythm, algorithm where it's habitual, or discards it. Mikey, you're
I said, all right, my bad. Yeah, I see the brother say he emailed. Did you send it to MikeyFeverNYP@gmail.com? And also NYP Talk Show @gmail.com. Just put in the subject, the subject line, Dr. Dyer Reprogramming Program, NYP, and I'll get that over, brother. I'll make sure I check once the show is over. Dr. Dyer, man, you're a godsend, man. Honestly, brother. And keep on doing what you're doing for others, man, in the community, because this is what we need. And if those have ears and a mind to listen, you will understand what he's saying is relating to you.
And then here's the thing. I'm an activist by my ultimate what you call pinnacle. And I really feel that people are not able to be activated and be part of a solution if they're stuck in what they're stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
So
I got you, Doc.
You guys have a good night.
No, don't forget, people. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. Dr. Dyer's reprogramming program starts April 10th. We'll be closing, right? That's the final date.
April 10th, and then we're starting on the following Monday.
Start the following Monday. Don't forget to email nyptalkshow@gmail.com. Subject line: Dr. Dyer Reprogramming the Mind. You can also reach me, Mikey Fever, NYP, Mikey Fever, NYP @gmail.com. Holler at us. Pardon, I'm so tired. Put that in the subject line, and it's only $50. Outside of that, it's $200. So he's giving you guys a discount. Do not put your EBT card, because it will be rejected, and you're gonna be angry, cursing a whole bunch of motherfuckers. Share with your friends, and I say this with love and respect. It's time for us to be better. It's time for us to heal. Turn off what's going on in this world and focus on ourselves, man. We got a lot to do. I love my brothers. I love my sisters. Self-forgiveness. NYP, and we out. Dr. Dyer, peace and love, my brother.
Peace.
And we out.